Hello and welcome to Disney Travel Tales, a podcast that allows you to immerse yourself in someone's recent Disney trip. I'm Jenny, and I'm so happy to be here with you talking about my favorite thing, Disney trips. Join us every Friday as we explore the parks or cruise ships with a new guest and learn inside tips and tricks to hopefully help make your vacation go a little smoother. Make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you are listening so you never miss a new episode, and I would love it if you left a positive review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. Another way to support the podcast is to use me as your travel agent at no cost to you. Email me at jenny@trolleylanetravel.com. Let me do all the hard planning while you sit back and count down the days to your vacation. Okay, so let's get going with today's show. Hello and welcome. You are listening to episode number 79, and my guest today is Renae, and she is going to be sharing her travel tale with us. Her family traveled to Walt Disney World June 4th through 12th of this year. So, hi Renae, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about your story. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with Disney vacations?
Okay, well, I went to Disney a few times when I was younger and as a kid with my family, and I loved it. And I didn't get to go back to Disney until I graduated from college. And I was like, that's the one thing I wanted to do was go. And my husband was like, really? Do you really want to go to Disney? I'm like, yes. And when he went, he fell in love with it. And ever since then, we'd tried to go back as much as possible. And then we haven't been back in 3 years because of COVID. And we were trying to be a little careful. And so we just hadn't made it back. And we usually stay at Pop Century, which we absolutely love. Pop Century is fun. It's our home. But this time, we decided to go ahead and stay at the Polynesian. So it was a new, fun, exciting thing for us. And since we hadn't been back in a few years, it was kind of like it was going home, but it was a lot of new stuff there too. So it was very exciting.
That's so fun. And it's like a big splurge. I mean, you hadn't gone in a few years, so you might as well go big, right?
Right. Yeah. It was like, and we had a bunch of points saved up from the Disney Visa card, which I highly recommend if you want to use that. And so that helped us out a lot with our poly stay. And they were running some good discounts, and shout out to my travel agent, Becky. She set me up with a really great discount. We were so excited. We were like screaming on the phone, oh my God, we're going to stay at Poly the whole time. So it was a really exciting moment to be able to get that.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize too that summertime, Disney almost always has discounts on rooms. So it is such a great time to go and get to experience like one of the deluxe resorts.
It really is. And we usually go in like the winter time, and I usually take the kids out of school. But this time my son was in 8th grade, and it was really hard for him to get away from school and stay caught up with his work. So we were like, okay, well, we're going to try summertime. It was our first time in the summer. It was hot.
Yeah. It is hot. That is the downside. Okay, so what are the ages of your kids that traveled with you? And then anyone else that traveled with you as well, because I know you had some extended family.
Yeah, so my husband and I went, and then I have an 8-year-old boy and a 14-year-old. He just turned 14. And we also went with my parents and my sister and my niece. And my parents are in their 70s. My sister's in her 40s like me. And she had a 13-year-old girl. And they didn't stay at the Poly with us. They stayed over at the Port Orleans French Quarter.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice resort.
Yeah, they really, really liked it over there. It was nice and quiet and relaxing atmosphere there. They really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I always recommend that resort to guests who want, like clients who want kind of a quieter. It's so small and quiet, And if you really want that when you're not at the parks, that is such a great resort. It's really underrated, I think.
Yeah. We had wanted them to stay at Pop for the Skyliner. But my sister and my parents kind of wanted a little bit more low key.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, the Port Orleans French Quarter was just a nice, quiet, or just give them like the relaxing atmosphere that I think that they would enjoy. And they really did.
That's fantastic. So that's so much fun. Y'all had people of all ages on this trip. I'm so excited to hear about it. Okay, so let's just start on, how did y'all get to Florida?
Well, we drove to Florida. We left at 4:00 in the morning, and we were Central Time, so we had to, move over to Eastern Time Zone. But we left at 4, and we drove all day long. And it actually wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. And we got there, around 3:00. And when we got there, it was a little confusing when we got there because they had like the valet people out, and we weren't really sure if we were supposed to park in the front and unload or go check in or what we're supposed to do. So we kind of parked somewhere, and we came and we checked in, and we got our room, and we were so excited because we got a standard room, and I was worried that we were going to be over at the construction because a lot of one side of Poly's like ton of construction over there. And I was like, oh, I hope we don't get. And the building that we were in was Tuvalu, and part of Tuvalu faces the construction and part of it doesn't. And we were on the side that didn't. I was so excited. We went down, and it was so, I don't know, just magical pulling in to the Polynesian, and they had all the tiki torches going with the fire, and you walk in and they give you a lei, and everybody there was just so nice and welcoming, and then going into the room was just, our room was next to the water, and then on the other side of our building you could see the castle. So every night when we walked to our room, the castle was just right there.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my gosh, even if I'm not at the parks, I can see the castle, and I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked into our room, and the TV was on. It had like the tiki drums playing in the background, and it said, "Welcome, Johnson family." And I was just blown away. It was just, I don't know. I love going to the tiki room. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to stay there, because the tiki room ride is just like, or show is my favorite thing at Disney. It reminds me of when I was a kid. And so that's why I wanted to stay at Poly. And then going there and having that vibe, and walking to the room and hearing the drums just felt, I don't know, just magical, I guess.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
The room it was much bigger than the Pop. And, there was, the beds were farther apart, and then you have this nice big private. We were on the first floor, so we didn't have a balcony, but we had like a little deck out the back, not deck, but little walkout on the back, and there's just plants there, and you could see the main building and the water on the side. It was just so relaxing. It was like going to Hawaii. It was just fantastic.
So the rooms have been redone with kind of a subtle Moana theme. What'd y'all think about that?
Loved it. Just loved it. It was just enough Disney to make it special, but it wasn't just crazy in your face, like pops and trees, like Mickey Mouse everywhere, which I love. But it was just a little bit more adult feeling, But the kids still loved it because they love Moana, and it was still Disney.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So after we checked in, we went to our room, and then we decided we wanted to just kind of walk around and check out the resort. And we went to the gift shops and picked out 1,000 things that we just had to buy.
Yeah.
And I bought a pair of ears, and then we went and ate at Captain Cook's, which was really good. I think the boys had Korean wings or something, and I had the noodles, and it was all really good, but there wasn't a lot of variety for kids.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot of things that not a lot of variety for kids. They had stuff that kids would eat, but if you eat there over and over again, the kids are going to kind of get. Well, that's my only complaint that I did like about Pop Century has, the big cafeteria area where there's lots of different, pizzas and, everything you could ever want there.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like Captain Cook's had as wide of a variety, but it was very delicious and they were all happy with it. But picky eaters might get tired of it.
Yeah, that is a downside of a deluxe is they don't have, sometimes people don't want the big cafeteria, but the nice thing about the big cafeteria is there's so many different options.
Yeah. Yeah. I missed that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So after we ate dinner, we grabbed some Dole Whips because that was the other wonderful thing. I love Dole Whips. And so they have the little walk-up Dole Whip counter that you can get Dole Whips all the way up till 10 o'clock at night.
That's great.
So a lot of times when we came back to the parks, we'd stop by and grab us a Dole Whip just really anytime we passed there, we'd get a Dole Whip. Mm-hmm. And then we changed into our swimming suits and we went swimming and the pool was great. For anyone who has little kids, it was only like 4 feet deep, the whole pool. And then they had a water slide, which was kind of intense for them. I was like, wow, that's a really fast water slide.
Yeah.
But the kids loved it and they had a really good time playing. And then the water pageant, electric water pageant, I don't know, is that what they call it?
Yeah, the electric water pageant.
Yeah, it came by, and so we all jumped out of the pool and went over and watched that. And then we watched the fireworks, part of the fireworks, and then we were all really, really tired because we'd been up since 4 o'clock. And so we went back to the room for an early night so that we could be up ready for the next morning. Did
your parents and sister drive down that day as well?
They did. Okay. They did. And they live in near Huntsville, Alabama. Mm-hmm. So their drive was not quite as long, but they hit traffic in Orlando, I guess, mm-hmm. or near Disney World. And they've sat in traffic for a very long time. And somehow we missed it. I don't know how we missed it, but we did.
That's great. Yeah, I've heard nightmare stories about traffic in Orlando. Like there's something going on there. I don't know what.
No, I was so thankful we didn't hit. I guess because we got there a little bit earlier than they did, and they hit it because they left a little bit later than we did. Mm-hmm. So we were all there, but we didn't get to see each other because we were all just too tired to try and figure out how to get to the other person's resort and all that mess with the parking and everything. Let's see. The next morning, I was kind of in charge of planning the whole trip for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so I was the one that had to do the Genie Plus and everything. So I got to get up the next morning at 7 o'clock and get our Genie Plus. And we were going to go to Magic Kingdom for the morning. And so I got a Tron boarding group and I did that first. And then we were going to Epcot in the afternoon and the evening because they had the extra evening hours for deluxe resorts, which we were really excited about. Mm-hmm. And I got a Remy Fast Pass for that. And so we, we were, I guess at 7:45, we got on the monorail. And then we were out on Main Street by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Nice.
And I have to say, it's different being at the deluxe resort and getting to the parks. If you can swing it, it makes a huge difference. I just think especially if you have younger kids trying to get the parks. And at Pop Century, there were just lines and lines and lines for the buses, and you'd have to wait for 2 or 3 buses and it took forever to get anywhere. And, it was 15 minutes. They did security at the hotel. You get on the monorail and you're there. The monorails were, one after another one. And it was fabulous. It was so easy. And it was worth it to me to be able to just hop on the monorail and be in the Magic Kingdom in 15 minutes. It was just fantastic at 8 o'clock in the morning, when it should be really crowded.
Yes.
and having the security at the hotel versus having to wait through the security at parks was really, really great.
Mm-hmm. That's such a great perk that I don't even think people realize. And it's only the hotels close to Magic Kingdom that have that. But I feel like also the security might not be as hardcore at the hotels. You know, they kind of, like, I know when we stayed, they kind of told us, take this out of your bag, hold it in your hands when you walk through, because like umbrellas and extra batteries always set it off. And so they kind of help you get through instead of just like herding you through like cattle.
And I have to say, we only got stopped once. Like the first day we tried to take stuff out of our bag and show it and walk through. And then after that, we're like, oh, this is just too complicated. Yeah. So we just threw everything in our bags and walked through. And my husband only got stopped once the whole trip. So it wasn't as crazy as it had been in the past for us. It's easier to get through. And maybe we didn't have anything too over the top in our bags. I don't know. We didn't bring a whole lot with us.
Yeah.
Let's see. So when we got there, we were going to ride Peter Pan first because that's what I had been waiting to ride. I missed my Peter Pan. And so we got there and we were there early and we were with a big crowd of people. And everybody with me and my parents and my sister, they were all like, oh my gosh, there's so many people here. I'm like, don't worry. Everybody's going 7 Dwarfs Mine Train. And we're not going to get in then to that. We're going to ride that at the end of the night, one night, and it won't be a big deal. And so we wanted to go to Peter Pan. We got all the way over there and they were like, Peter Pan's closed.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, no, I can't believe that. And I was thinking about going over to Tomorrowland because our other ride we wanted to ride was my son wanted to get on Buzz. I was like, well, we can go over and do Tomorrowland. And then, but my dad's favorite ride was at Small World. And we were right there. And I was like, okay, let's do Small World. And then maybe Peter Pan will be back on by the time we're done. And so we did that and we got off and it was like, as soon as we got off, Peter Pan came back on. And so we got in line, but it kept breaking down. Like it would run for a couple of minutes and then they'd say, Peter Pan is not working, don't move, and then it'd go back on. And so we wasted a lot of our early morning time, doing Small World and waiting for Peter Pan. And when we got on, it stopped 3 or 4 times while we were on there. I don't know what the problem was. But it was fine. We got to do that. And then by the time we got off, Frontierland and Adventureland had all opened up. And so we headed over to ride Haunted Mansion and got on that. And there was not a long wait for that. It was my sister's favorite ride and my niece's one of her favorite rides. So I was like, okay, I want to get everybody on all their favorite rides.
Yes.
So we did that. And then we went, by that time, my youngest was Luke. He was just like, okay, if I don't get on Buzz Lightyear, I'm going to scream. So we trapped all the way across the park. And we rode Buzz Lightyear and the Astro Orbiter and the People Mover. And I have to say, I was very worried about getting on Tron. We were boarding Group 53. And so I was just panicking because I didn't want to miss it. And I didn't want to be on the other side of the park and not be able to get over there in time for our boarding group. And so the whole day I was just like watching it like a hawk, which kind of made it not as a fun experience because I was worried about that. And I was worried about getting fast passes. I think after I got our Renae fast pass, I had to wait 2 hours after the park opened. I think I finally was able to get a Buzz Lightyear was our first fast pass in Magic Kingdom. It was pretty crowded there. So after we did Buzz, we stopped and we ate at Cosmic Rays. And the food there is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we love Cosmic Rays because we love to go, what's the guy's name?
Sunny Eclipse.
Sunny Eclipse. We love Sunny Eclipse. So we have to go pay a visit to Sunny Eclipse. Doesn't matter what the food tastes like. We have to go. He's like, but if you're going for the food, I would definitely recommend somewhere else. It's like Harbor House or somewhere else. It's a lot better, but I was okay. We got to go see Sunny Eclipse and And then it was finally time for Tron. And so since we had the boarding group instead of paying for the individual lightning lane, it was a really long line. And I don't know if we just hit it at the right time, but we waited in there forever. And the line was outside. Part of it was outside too, just FYI. And it was hot. And that was not the fun part. But once we got on it, everybody loved it. My parents didn't go on it.
I was going to ask. I was like, did your parents ride Tron?
No, my parents did not ride Tron. They did not do the roller coasters. But the rest of us got on there, and we all just loved it. I mean, it was fantastic. Everybody warned you, like, it's a really short ride. Don't get too excited about it because it's so short. And I guess I built it up in my head that it was just like, a 10-second ride, that when we're on, I'm like, oh my gosh, it keeps going and going and going. And it was just, I don't know. I think I liked that we were, riding a motorcycle. It was just like, it was different, and it was really cool. And that ended up being our favorite ride of the trip.
Hey parents, do your kids listen to podcasts? Do they like solving mysteries and flexing their imaginations? Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is a new children's mystery podcast. Your kid can join Billy Bonanza and Susie Sockington on exciting and wacky adventures as they attempt to solve mysteries around their school. Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is available now on all podcast platforms.
Yeah, it's a really cool, innovative ride. It's very different. And I think we rode it. I didn't think it was too short. Like I thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminded me like Rock and Roller Coaster is really short to me, but I still love it. Yeah. So, I mean, if they wanted to add more to it, I would be really happy, but
right.
It was fine. Like it was such a cool ride that, I didn't care how short it was. It was, it was great. And my husband is a huge, huge Tron fan. So this was just kind of like such a magical moment for him. This was his moment, was getting on the Tron ride.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so after we did that, we were hot and tired. So we got on the monorail and rode to Epcot. And I had gotten us while we were on the monorail, I got us a fast pass for Soarin'. And so one of our favorite things to do at Epcot that the children wanted to do as soon as we got there was go to Club Cool. And they have shows to swim around the world, and they just will spend an hour in there just trying different combinations. And they were a little disappointed because they had changed some of the flavors, or like most of the flavors. But it was fun to try new stuff, so they were fine with it. They were excited, and so we spent a lot of time in there.
That's fun.
And let's see. So, and then we rode Soarin', and then I was able to kind of get fast passes for all the smaller rides there. We went over to like the Living Seas area and rode the Finding Nemo ride and Mission Space and Imagination, and we did Living with the Land over by Soarin', because I love Living with the Land. You shouldn't skip Living with the Land.
No, it's so good.
It's just a little, fun little boat ride, but it's a nice place to just relax, and it's so cool. I just love it.
I do too, yeah.
And let's see, and I think we actually ended up doing Mission Space a few times because there was no wait for that, and my kids love it. I did is it orange? Is that the more intense one?
Yes.
I did the orange once. We used to do the orange when we were younger, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go back on it. It'll be fine. It wasn't fine.
Yeah.
There was one part I was like, I felt like I was going to black out, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I did it once. Y'all can go on it as many times as you want. Thankfully, my husband was a good sport about it, and it doesn't bother him too bad. So he went on it with my boys over and over again, as many times as they could handle it. but I was good after once.
Yeah, I know that happened to me as well. Like I used to be able to ride it when I was younger, and then I rode it when I was older, and I was like, yeah, no, never again.
I know, I hate it because when I was a kid, my mom was always like, I can't do that, I can't do these spinny things, they make me dizzy, I can't get on. And I was like, I'm not gonna be like that when I'm an adult. I'm gonna be able to do all the stuff, I'm gonna get on the teacups and go round and round and round and round. Now when I'm an adult, I'm like, no.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
It just changes. It sucks.
So the main reason why I wanted to go to the Epcot was for the extended evening hours, because I love Magic Kingdom at night, and I really wanted that to be a first night. But I wanted to see if we could get on Guardians, and I missed the boarding group for the extended evening hours. It's at 6:00. We were in the park. I mean, it was just gone instantaneously, and I was so surprised because I had never had a trouble like getting fast passes or anything that I ever wanted to, and even with like the Genie Press and Lightning Lane and the Tron boarding group at 7:00, it was super easy. I was like, what? I didn't get it? No way! I was just shocked, and I didn't think it was that competitive for the extra evening hours, anyways. But apparently, it is. So.
Well, I think it's also is they only do a small amount because it's only 2 hours, and so they don't want people in the parks for just hours and hours and hours after the park closes. So it's just a really small amount.
Yeah. Well, I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I could do it, and I just didn't. But that was okay because we ended up being really tired anyways. So. After we kind of wrote all this stuff at the front of the park, we wanted to head back. My niece and my boys all love Japanime stuff, and so we wanted to go over to Japan and check out all the stuff there. And my niece wanted to look at the kimonos and the swords and all those cool things. And so we went over there and we ate in Japan. At the quick service restaurant there, and I can't remember what it's called.
Katsura Grill? Grill, yeah. Oh, it
was really good. I really wanted to eat in France, but when we went by there, the line was so long, and we were so hot and tired that I was like, no, never mind. I'll just go with whatever is the easiest thing. And so we ate there, and the kids were super happy because we were eating in Japan, so that's what mattered.
And the good thing about Epcot is there's good food everywhere. So if there's a long line, you can just go to the next country and find something good. Right.
And there's so many things that I wanted to try there. We just didn't have enough time, or whenever it was time to eat, we were in the wrong place, and but it's okay. We'll just have to get it next time, right?
There you go.
So let's see. We ate, and then it was time for our ratatouille. Fast pass, which I was so glad that I was able to get that morning, and we went on that, and that one did make me a little sick too. It wasn't horrible. My mom went on it, and she was like, "I just closed my eyes the whole time."
Yeah.
So, but it was fun. It was really, really fun. I enjoyed that ride. I thought it was a cute little fun ride. You should definitely try it out. It's probably not worth an hour wait, but it was fun. It was a cute little ride.
Yeah, it is cute, and I like that they have more rides like that, especially for like kids of all ages. Because even some older kids don't like roller coasters, and so it's like a zippy, fun little ride. Yeah.
Well, and it's nice too that they have rides too, because that you can ride with the whole family. Because because we had the older people, our group, and so it was nice that I can ride rides with my parents, and
very true.
And we could all enjoy them together.
Yeah.
But after that, everybody was really hot and tired. So, and since my parents and sister and niece were not at a deluxe resort, they went on back to their hotel because it was, I want to say it was probably 8:00. The fireworks were getting ready to start. And so they were tired. And so they went back to the resort, and we actually were really tired. And since I didn't get the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, I was like, well, if we want to be able to get up and go all day tomorrow, I don't know that really the extra evening hours are really worth it to us. We headed back to the front of the park just to see what the wait times were. And there were a lot of people still in the park. They went back and rode Mission Space a couple more times. And then we decided to get in line for Test Track. And it was posted an hour wait. And I think we waited about 30 minutes or so. It wasn't that bad. Because we waited till the park closed, so we didn't have any more of the Genie Plus people coming in the line. Because I never could get a Genie Plus for Test Track. I just couldn't do it. By the time we got over there, they were gone. And I kept checking. And I think if I wasn't trying to get it for 8 people, we definitely could. And that was something that kind of plagued me the whole trip, was trying to get Genie Plus for so many people. When there was just a couple of us, it was super easy to get whatever we wanted and to modify the times. But that first day, it was frustrating trying to go back and forth between the parks to try and stack some rides in the afternoon. So we'd have some when we got to Epcot, but it kept wanting me the app kept taking me to the Magic Kingdom, and it didn't want to give me Genie Plus rides for the afternoon. Even though there were some available for after 2:00, it was just, and I eventually figured out how to use it, and I was great with FastPass, so I kind of thought, oh, this is going to be easy, and I know how to get around the app and my Disney experience, and I thought I could handle it, and it was frustrating for me. So I would definitely recommend spending a lot of time watching videos on it and messing around with it before you go, because that was, by the end of the trip, I kind of had it down, but still I spent a lot of time on my phone trying to get better times. And it may have been, again, it'd probably be easier if I wasn't in a group of 8 to get our times down closer to what we wanted them to be. But with a group of, 8 people, it was a lot. So,
that's a really interesting insight, because I've never talked to someone who had such a large group with Genie Plus, and I've never actually thought about that. But you're right. Like, I bet the bigger your group is, the harder it is to grab the lightning lanes.
It is, and you see a lot of these bloggers that go, and there's just like 1 or 2 people there, and they go, and they're like, yeah, you just go in and look, I can get all these Genie Plus rides, and you just keep refreshing, and then you'll get the ride. I'm like, but you're 1 person or 2 people. It's so much easier to find those couple of times that somebody dropped versus, trying to get somebody for a bigger party. And it was kind of frustrating, and it was confusing how to drop people from your group. So if my parents didn't want to ride a roller coaster, making sure that from the beginning that they weren't added into our group to get the Genie Plus, it was just really easier to just leave them in there.
Yeah.
Honestly. But anyways, it was just a really frustrating thing, and just something to be kind of aware of, that it may not be quite as easy if you're with a larger group.
That's really good advice.
But we did get on Test Track, and we were really happy that we got to do that. And then after that, we were all like, okay, we're done. I mean, we didn't get to ride Frozen, and that was really the only ride in the park that we didn't get to ride that night was Frozen. So we did all of Epcot in half a day.
I mean, y'all did a lot of rides, even for just a whole day.
Yeah. So it was a big first day. We were really, really tired.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we had kind of planned to go back to the room midday, but we were so excited to be there. It was just really hard to leave. And we did. It was very, very hot. And I grew up in Alabama, and I went to school in South Alabama for college, and we lived down there for a long time. So I know what heat is. Like, I'm used to heat, and it was hard. It was just really, really hard. And it was harder for the kids, So we did take the cooling towels, and we had neck bands, both of which you really needed both at the same time. And they were helpful, but the kids always had one or the other on all day long, every day. And those were the most helpful things that we had. And some people had giant fans that they bought at the parks, like a traditional fan. I don't know what, not an electrical fan. And those were really seemed to work really, really well, better than we had a little hand fans that we took to, and those didn't really do anything. They just pushed the hot air around.
Yeah, just pushes hot air on your face.
Yeah, so the next day, and let me say, going back to the Polynesian at night, taking that monorail back, not having to wait for a bus was fantastic. And we were home so quickly. There were a lot of people online, and it really didn't take but just a minute to get back. And then going back to the hotel, there's tiki torches, but they're like huge tiki torches with all this fire going, and and there was still live music going, and it was just so magical coming back. I didn't feel like I was, leaving to go, to hotel. It was, I was still in this magical place, and you see the castle as you're walking to your room. You're just like, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still in the park,
That's so cool. Like, you're excited to go back. It's not like, oh, I got to leave the parks. It's like, oh, I get to go to the resort.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so like lush and green and all the tropical plants, and you're just like, oh, this is so relaxing and cool.
Yep.
But anyway, so the next day we went to Hollywood Studios, and it was so hot. Hollywood Studios was probably our hardest day because it was just, I guess there's so much concrete there and the buildings, and it's just hot. But we got there early. We were on the bus, and again, buses at Pop Century were lines of people, and it was cutthroat. People were mad when you break a line. At the Polynesian, there's benches, and they're covered, and people are just hanging out on the benches. There's no lines. Nobody, you don't know, like, who's going where. Everybody's just hanging out, and there were, like, a handful of people there. And we just all sat down and just waited for our bus, and it was there, and then we just got up, and nobody formed a line. Everybody just kind of got up and got on the bus, and there was plenty of room. We never stood on the bus anytime, so nice. Ever. I mean, it was just different. It was wonderful. So if you have little kids, again, it makes a difference not having to wait for 3 buses and hold your kids standing up on the bus.
Yep.
But we were on the bus at like 7:20, and I think the park opened at 8:30 or 8. I don't remember. I think we had to be there by 8. And so we got there, and we were going to rope drop Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror. I had Genie Plus, and I was a couple of minutes late getting our first ride because I wanted to get Slinky Dog for our Genie Plus, and I was a couple of minutes late, and they were already at 6 o'clock.
What?
Yeah. So it was
my gosh!
I think I was 4. It was like 7 or 4 in the morning when I got it, and the earliest time I could get was 6 o'clock, and I kept checking it, trying to back it up.
Oh my gosh!
I couldn't back it up at all. It was 6 o'clock. So we got in line for Tower of Terror, and because Rock and Roller Coaster was down. And we were like, really? Okay. And we were very excited because Rock and Roller Coaster was going to be closed while we were there for refurbishment, and it opened up early. So we were really excited, but it was down that morning. And so we're like, that's fine. We'll go get in line for Tower of Terror, and no big deal. So my oldest, Logan, didn't feel like riding Tower. He doesn't really like the drops in Tower of Terror. He likes roller coasters. He doesn't like the drops. I'm kind of with him. So I was like, I'll hang out with you, and we'll let her, my niece and my sister and my husband and my youngest go on that. And they went over, and but right before they got there, my niece was feeling a little sick to her stomach, and she's like, no, I just don't know that I can do this. So they came out and sat down, and she hadn't had a good breakfast, and it's early morning, a lot of walking and everything, and she wasn't feeling great. So she was like, I probably better not ride. And of course, but my youngest son was sad that she didn't want to ride right now and that she wasn't sick. So he didn't want to ride anything. So he just kind of sat there for a little while. And by that time, you know, the lines were getting longer and longer and longer. So we decided to, we decided to go ride Mickey and Minnie's railroad thing, because it wasn't a crazy ride. And my niece and my sister went to get something to eat and just kind of relax for a few minutes. And me and my husband and my boys went and rode the Mickey and Minnie ride. And it was so cute. I loved that ride. It was so fun. Again, it's a great ride that you can ride with everybody. Rotary Studios needed. And by the time we got off, my niece was feeling better, and we went on Star Tours, because I was like, okay, that's not anything too crazy. And so we did Star Tours, and the lines were getting so long, and it was 10 o'clock, and I still had to wait another hour, I think, before I could make another fast pass. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to drop Slinky Dog, and we'll catch it another day. And so I made a fast pass for Toy Story. My parents had gotten there by this time, and so we all got to ride that together. And then we went over to Star Wars Land and had the Ronto Wraps for breakfast, which were so good.
So good.
There's a coffee there. I don't know if you've had it it's got like this cream cheese topping on it and the Cocoa Puffs on it.
I haven't had it.
It is the best thing we had the whole trip. It was so good.
Really? That's
I came home and I was putting like Cocoa Puffs on my coffee after that.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was like a cold brew coffee, you know, and it was delicious. You need to stir it up. You can't just drink it, you need to stir it all up. But we went back like 2 or 3 times to get it again, because it was so good. If you're a coffee drinker, do not miss this. It is really was the highlight of the trip for
nice
people drinking coffee. So it was great. And so after we got breakfast and did that, we decided, my youngest hadn't made a lightsaber yet. My husband and my oldest son had made lightsabers the last time we went. And so Luke was finally old enough to make one. And so he went with my husband to make his lightsaber. And I got a fast pass, a Genie Plus Lightning Lane. I chose old school here. But so we got a Genie Plus Lightning Lane for Mickey and Minnie's Railroad since my parents and my sister and my niece hadn't gone on it yet. We went back and rode that with the Lightning Lane, which was great because it was super fast. And then we went and I think after that, it was, my son got done with the lightsaber and it was so hot. We were just dying. It was just, and there was just nowhere to go, no shade. And my parents and my sister and my niece were like, we're just going to go back to the hotel for a little while. And I was like, that's a really good idea. And my boys were really hungry, so we stayed and ate at Backlot Express, which was actually pretty good. The burgers were good there, and there was some kind of chicken dish my husband got that he liked. So we ate, and then we decided to head back to the hotel because we just couldn't handle the heat. And so we went back and just chilled for a while. We all just took naps and relaxed. And let's see, what time did we get back? We went to the hotel around 2:00, and then I got a fast pass for us for Millennium Falcon at 5:00. So we were only at the hotel for a couple of hours, and then we got back, and that was the only time we had trouble with our bus. Our bus took forever to get to us. I was like, oh, come on.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't a line, so it wasn't a big deal. And it was in the middle of the day, so, you don't have as many people riding. But we got back and we rode Millennium Falcon, and we had such a good time doing that because we let Luke drive, and my niece drive, and we were all. It was funny. We were crashing into everything. We were all screaming and yelling and, oh my God, we're not going to make it, and which just made it so much more fun for us to just, really get into it and yell and scream. And
that is fun.
My parents did get to ride. We wanted them to ride it. But they didn't get to get on the same ship that we were on.
Mm-hmm.
But it made them a little sick.
Yeah, it can do that.
I was expecting it to, but at the same time, we just really wanted them to be able to at least experience that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did dinner at Docking Bay 7 since we were already over there. And it was okay. Some of the people liked their food in our group, and some of us didn't. I had the fried chicken there before, which I really liked, and it wasn't quite as good as it this time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really enjoy it as much, but it was fine. It was a nice, cool place to sit and eat, and the theming was really neat, and the kids were happy with their food. And then because we didn't get to ride Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster in the morning, I went and got fast passes for those two. And we did Tower of Terror, and then I got a Rock and Roller Coaster. And unfortunately, the Rock and Roller Coaster ride broke down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we were like there ready to get in line, and it broke down. I was like, oh my gosh. And so we had they gave us an anytime lightning lane to come back. And so I was like, oh, this is great, guys. So now we can stand here. And I thought maybe we could go use it for Slinky Dog, but you can use it for any ride but Slinky Dog. I was like, really? So we stood there and we waited about, 30 minutes. And we were watching the ride, waiting for them to open up. So as soon as they opened up, thankfully they opened back up, we ran and got in line. And so it was like walk on. They didn't even do the pre-shows or anything. We just walked right onto the ride. And oh my gosh, the kids just loved it. It was the first upside down roller coaster.
Oh, fun. And
so they were just like, that was amazing. We loved it so much. And so as soon as they got off, we got to use the line had started getting longer. So we used our Anytime Fast Pass. So they got to ride it twice back to back.
Nice.
And it was a magical moment for us there again, because it was just, getting to ride it twice and no wait, and they just loved it. And I love that ride too. I love roller coasters, as long as I don't love Tower of Terror because it just drops you. I don't love that.
It's a different feeling, the drop. It's just different.
Yeah. I just don't like waiting for it, knowing it's going to happen. That they're just going to drop me. I'm like, oh no, I can't handle it.
Yep.
And then when we were done with that, it was almost time for the park to close. So we walked over back over to Star Wars area, and we were going to jump in line for Rise of the Resistance, because I'd heard that the wait times are sometimes inflated for that, which there was like a 75-minute wait, I think, for Rise of the Resistance. Now, we got in line like 5 minutes before the park closed. It was a 20-minute wait, maybe.
Wow.
So, I could tell because none of the outdoor queues were filled. There was nothing outside. I'm like, this is not going to be the runway. So my parents were just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. This is so exciting. And they loved the ride. My parents, it was their favorite ride. They thought it was just so immersive, and just like you're in a movie, and we love that ride too. But for them, it was just a really like, wow, this is so neat. And my sister loves Star Wars, and so it it was a special ride for her too, you know. It's like,
That's
oh
really
wow,
cool.
if I was a kid and I could have ridden this, wouldn't that, you know, just to be, you're part of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, it's we love that ride as well. It's so fun.
Yeah, I'd highly, because most people run and get on in the morning, and you're still waiting in line a long time in the morning. But if you hit it at the end of the night, it was not bad at all.
Yep,
not bad at all. And then you get to be in the park at night after the park is closed, and they don't kick you out of Star Wars Land. I mean, we took lots of pictures and walked around and just hung out and enjoyed the lights and nighttime. And so I guess we did everything at Hollywood Studios except for the Alien Swirling Saucers and Slinky Dog. And so we decided we'd just hit those another day. Yeah. We did get on line for a Slinky Dog once. I mean, not Slinky Dog, the Swirling Saucers. Because it was supposed to be a 15-minute wait, and we were in there and we're like, this is not a 15-minute wait. We weren't moving, and it was not, we're like, this is not worth standing in line for.
Yeah. Because it's that line's, I mean, the whole thing's outside, and you can kind of tell by looking at it how long it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was, we got in there, and it looked like it was moving, and then it just stopped moving, and we were just like, no, we can't do that for a ton.
Yep.
So that was our second day. It was a long day. And then our next day was Animal Kingdom, and we did not do Genie Plus for Animal Kingdom. Because I was like, I'm done with trying to do this all day, every day. I want one day at least where I don't have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And it's so expensive.
It's so expensive.
You know, I hate that you have to pay for it. And if it hadn't been so hot, if we had gone at a different time of year, I think we wouldn't have needed it as much. Mm-hmm. Just because you could have handled waiting in some of the line, you know, waiting in 30-minute lines or so. And then when you have to get out of the heat so much, it's just, or, you know, go back to the hotel for a few hours, you lose a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And you kind of need that Genie Plus. But Animal Kingdom, there's not a lot of rides there. So, I mean, I don't think you need it, but we did just fine without it. And it was much more relaxing for us.
For sure.
So, my husband and I and my boys got there early, and the rest of my family came a little bit later because they were tired. Mm-hmm. So the early morning hours, I think, started at 7:30 that morning, and we missed the extra morning hours, and we got there like right before 8 o'clock. It was like 7:50. Mm-hmm. So we had gotten into the park before everybody else could get in, but we missed that first rush. So I was like, let's just walk over to Flight of Passage and see if we can hit it just right after the first initial push and then before the rest of the crowd comes in to get in line for it. And we did. We waited about 35 minutes in line.
That's not bad.
I know.
That's great.
We'd never gotten to wait in the real queue, and I was like, let's just see. And so we kept walking. I'm like, okay, we can do this. This is great.
Yeah.
So I really recommend, like, because we've been like in the back of the pack for Flight of Passage in the morning, and you wait a long time if you're in the back of the first pack. Mm-hmm. But I think we just hit it just right. Like, everybody else had gone through, and it was fantastic. We were super excited. Our plan had been to ride the riverboat, Navi River Journey first, because that gets really strangely long wait times. I don't know why, but we kind of got excited about Flight of Passage and went over there first, and then. Let's see. We did, I don't know what it's called, but the Birds of Flight, maybe?
Feathered Friends in Flight.
Yes, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's it, yes. And so, because when we just kind of happened to catch it. I always want to catch it, but I never do. And so we walked up to the tree, and they were like, it's getting ready to start. And so we stood there, and then all of a sudden all these blue macaws just flew around us, and they came out of the creek. It was just so beautiful and magical and special, and it was just like, wow.
That's so cool.
One of those moments that, you only get at Disney,
Yeah.
And then they started kind of like flying over our heads and all around, and I was just, this is so cool. So after we saw that, we went over to ride Dinosaur, and there was no wait for Dinosaur. And then we met up with my family, and we went over to Everest, and again, there was no wait for Everest. So we did Everest twice, and we loved it. I mean, the kids loved. I mean, by this time they were like, okay, we love the roller coasters. This is all we want to do is ride the roller coasters.
Yeah.
My poor parents ended up just sitting and waiting for us a lot of the time, but at least they were in Disney, and they enjoyed getting to see the kids, excited about riding the rides and telling them all about it. So we did Everest, and then we went over to Kali River Rapids, and there wasn't a long wait for that either at that point, and because it was kind of raining on and off, so there weren't a lot of people.
That's nice.
Riding a lot of the race, kind of running away from the rain. It wasn't horrible rain, but it was just kind of, drizzling around. So we got on Kali, and we all got very wet. We were soaked. Thankfully, half the people in my boat started taking their shoes off. And so I took my youngest son's shoes off because he just refused to wear a poncho. So I was like, okay, let's take your shoes off. And I put him under my poncho so his shoes wouldn't get wet. And I still got wet even with the poncho on. But it was nice because it cooled us off because it was warm still. It was hot the whole trip.
Yep.
It was kind of a running theme. And then we did one of the walking trails. I can't remember which one. I think it was the Gorilla Falls, maybe. And then we had lunch at Sully Canteen, which is my favorite quick service of the whole place. It's so delicious. We do the chicken and rice bowls, and my husband likes the steak and rice bowls, and that's great. My oldest loved the hamburger pods. They're a big hit. So they really have something for everybody there, and it's just a higher quality food. It's a great place to stop.
It really is. It's like a sit-down meal, like sit-down service meal.
It is, yeah. You have real plates and real silverware, and there's plenty of places to sit inside and outside. And it's very cool and refreshing place to hang out. Let's see. After that, we got one of the Night Blossom. I think it's called the Night Blossom drinks over there next to Sully Canteen. And had the little bobas on top, and the boys thought that was so fun. It's brightly colored and bad for them, so they enjoyed it.
They're so good, especially when it's hot outside.
Right, exactly. And I tried one of the pineapple
lumpia.
Yeah, however you say that, and it was really good. It wasn't like amazing, but it was good. I'd have it again. And then we did the safari, and I don't like doing the safari that late in the afternoon because of animals, not as many animals out, but we didn't have that big of a problem because it was kind of raining. So just the way things worked out. And then we went over to Raffiki's Planet Watch, and it was okay. We're just kind of looking for something to do where the lines were long.
That train ride's nice. It's like a nice way to, reason to just sit down. Just ride the train over there, yeah.
Yeah. And then we went back to get on Everest because the line wasn't very long, but the ride broke down. And it may have been down for weather. I'm not sure whether it was down for whatever. It was down. And we sat there for a while, and we're like, oh, no. And so we decided to leave and go over to see if we could get on Flight of Passage, because the rest of my family hadn't ridden it yet. I was like, let's go over there and do that. And it started to rain. And so it wasn't just like drizzling. It was just pouring. I'm like, okay, let's duck into the bathrooms and get a poncho on. And it was just a torrential downpour. It wasn't something that you could just walk around with a poncho on.
Yeah.
It was just awful. We just got stuck there forever, just standing in this bath. It was hot. And then we were tired, and we were like, okay, well, finally, it let up enough that we could walk over, and the line for Avatar was really short. And I'm like, oh, but we were really hungry. We were trying to decide which to do. We should have eaten, but we didn't. We went and got line for Flight of Passage, and we rode that, and everybody thought it was awesome.
Did your parents ride that?
They did.
Yay.
They did. And my mom said she closed her eyes most of the ride.
I was going to say, did it make your mom sick? Because it is very motiony, yeah.
Yeah, she loves soaring, so I thought maybe she could handle it, but she had some problems with it.
Yeah.
But she was glad she went on it. She looked at it. What she saw, she really enjoyed. She thought it was just like a really amazing ride, but it was just a little too much, unfortunately. But she was glad she rode it at least. And then we ate dinner, and we went back to Sully camping, and everybody got different things. And then we wanted to see Avatar at night. And since it's summertime, it doesn't get very dark.
Yep.
There. So they hopped in line for Flight of Passage again. I stayed out with my parents and my oldest, because he was kind of feeling kind of little. And so they all went on Flight of Passage one more time. And
that is just, I just have to say, that is crazy that y'all rode it 3 times in one day.
I know, isn't it? I mean,
that's crazy, because usually the line is so long, like you couldn't do that.
You just have to catch it at the right time. I mean, we caught it in the morning at the right time, and then after it rained, everybody had left. Mm-hmm. And then if you get on it right, like again, the line said like it was like an hour and something wait at park close, and if there was no line, it was a walk on. My husband said he was letting people pass him because we wanted to stay in the park a little bit later.
Oh my gosh!
And so he was like letting people go in front of them so they could stay on the ride longer, so we could see it. And it wasn't crazy. dark when we left, but it was dark enough that they could see a little bit of the glowy stuff.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, and I miss that because I enjoy going in the winter and seeing it all glowing. And and that night, we did Animal Kingdom because it closed early, and we wanted to hop to Magic Kingdom for the extended evening hours. And I have to say, it's really hard to do those extended evening hours because you're so tired, especially with kids. My husband and my youngest son went over there and rode a few rides, but it was very, very crowded there. Like, it was super crowded. And they only rode like 2 rides, and they were there for several hours. And me and my oldest son went back to the hotel because we were just tired. And I'm like, if I'm going to go again tomorrow, I've got to get some rest.
I don't know. I've done extended evening hours twice now. The first time I did them, there was nobody there. It was in September, and the parks had been crowded during the day. But this last time I did them, it was like, I don't think this is worth it because you're staying out so late. You're riding a couple of rides. I don't know.
They didn't even start till 11 o'clock. It was 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And I mean, if I had been, 20, I would have been like, this is great.
Yeah.
But it was still very, very crowded. I think my husband got over there at like 10:30, and it was still so crowded there. And they rode a couple of rides, and I'm just like, it's too crowded.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you visited a Disney park? For many adults, it's been a really long time. I would love to help you fix that situation. As a travel agent specializing in Disney, my job is to make sure your vacation can go as seamless as possible. All of my services are complimentary to my clients. Yes, you heard that right. I'm free to you. These services include helping you from the start finding the perfect resort to fit your needs, handling all the bookings and reservations, helping to teach you about the parks because if it's been a while, man, have they changed. I have insider tips and tricks I share with all of my clients, and I will be your single point of contact throughout your entire trip, even while you are there. Don't wait another year to visit a Disney park or go on a Disney cruise. Let this be the year you finally go. Email me at jenny@trolleylanetravel.com to get the conversation started, or see the link in the show notes to fill out my quote form. All listeners that book a trip with me will receive a $20 gift card to use on their trip. Just make sure you say you heard this on the podcast. Okay, now back to the show.
So the next morning we slept in. we were done. We slept in, and I had the tonga toast from I think we got that from Captain Cook's.
Mm-hmm.
It was delicious. It was fantastic. I'm not a banana fan, but it's like this huge French toast fried in like cinnamon and sugar, and it's got the bananas in the middle, and it is so good. It's worth trying. It's gigantic. It's like huge.
Yeah.
It's definitely shareable between like 3 people. I enjoyed that. Enjoyed just relaxing at the hotel in the morning.
That's nice.
And we let's see, did we do Genie Plus that day? We didn't do Genie Plus that day. We just we got a lightning lane. We did an individual lightning lane for Guardians of the Galaxy, and I got a boarding group for Guardians of the Galaxy. Because everybody had said how amazing and wonderful that ride was, and it was going to be our only time to ride it. So they're like, okay, let's go ahead and buy individual lightning lane.
Mm-hmm.
And since we weren't doing Genie Plus that day,
Mm-hmm.
and so we went over and we started with Club Cool, and then we went over to the Connections Cafe,
Mm-hmm.
I think is what it's called, and we had lunch there. We had pizza there, which was fine. And then we went over to Guardians of the Galaxy, and when we went through first with our individual lightning lane,
Okay.
and the whole interior was full of people. Like if you'd had to wait in that line, it would have been a long wait. So we were really happy that we had the individual lightning lane, because we're like, I don't know if we want to wait in line for the boarding group. And we liked the ride. My sister came off shaking. She was so sick and
Oh
couldn't handle it. It made me probably the sickest of all the rides that I rode. So if you're prone to motion sickness, it can get you. It wasn't bad, but I think I liked Tron more because it didn't make me sick.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like Space Mountain, but upgraded for me, which I still really liked it, but it wasn't, I don't know. It was okay.
That's so funny that you say that, because that's exactly what my son said. He goes, this is like Space Mountain, but upgraded. Like, that's exactly what he said. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was
so funny.
I mean, and which I really loved, because like I love Space Mountain,
Mm-hmm.
And it's old and rickety now, but I don't know, it just wasn't. I don't know.
It didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, it just didn't live up to that. Tron was so cool because it was just so different for
Mm-hmm.
me, and the way the cart spinned and Guardians of the Galaxy was cool, and I guess the screens were cool, but I really wasn't paying attention to what was going on the screens. So I don't know.
Do you remember what song you got?
I don't. Because we wrote it again, and I don't remember what either song was that we got. And they weren't songs that like I associated with Guardians of the Galaxy that were like
Gotcha.
on the first soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
So they were different songs that I made probably in one of the other movies that I didn't remember. But it was a different experience writing it with the different songs that made it different.
Yeah.
So after we did that, unfortunately, it was raining when we got off the ride. And let me just warn everybody, if it is raining and you come off a ride, they're going to push you out into the rain. There's no waiting to get a poncho on. There is no taking a deep breath and making sure you're okay. They are just going to say, you have to leave right now. And they push you out. It's the most unmagical experience. And you are going to just get soaked. It just doesn't matter. So we got off Guardians of the Galaxy and we had to run to like the gift shop, and they were nice in the gift shop and let us stand in the gift shop.
That's nice.
But we were wet, and we got soaked just running to the gift shop. It was just pouring rain. But thankfully it quit raining pretty quickly, and we went on Spaceship Earth because we didn't get to that the other day. And then after that, my niece and my sister went up to Japan to buy the kimono that my niece wanted.
Oh, that's
and she
cool.
said it was a magical experience.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, she said the lady there was very helpful and explained everything about, what the different ones meant and the different, designs and all that, and just, was just made it a really, really special experience for her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she really enjoyed that. And then, let's see, we went to dinner. They went to Japan, and my family went to Mexico to eat because the boys they love going to Mexico to eat. And we didn't go inside to ride the Three Caballeros. I forgot we didn't do that either. And we really want to do that. We love Three Caballeros ride, but we didn't get there. We ate dinner, and it was, I keep saying it was hot, but you just can't explain to somebody how exhausted you get in the heat. And so after dinner, we just left and went to Magic Kingdom and stopped and got Dole Whips as soon as we got there. I highly recommend the Dole Whip on the pineapple upside down cake. And there was a coconut Dole Whip that was really, really good too.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It was fantastic. If you mix the coconut and the pineapple, if you get like a swirl on top of the pineapple upside down cake, that's even better.
That sounds so good.
It is. And then we just hit up a bunch of little rides. We did like the magic carpets and the teacups, and I got my mom on the Barnstormer with me.
Nice.
And that was fun. And then we we wanted to ride Tron at night, and we didn't get the 2:00 boarding route. So we paid to ride Tron at night that night. And it was so nice because we walked right on. Not right on, but we didn't have to wait. Mm-hmm. And it was just really nice. And really expensive.
Really expensive.
Really nice. And I didn't think that it made much of a difference that we rode it at night. Because you're only outside for just a short bit of time, that it's not worth paying to do it at night. But we wanted to ride it again anyways, and so we did that, and we tried to get on Space Mountain, and it was closed. And then we went over to the cars to ride the cars, but the line got long, and so we headed over to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train because the park was getting ready to close. Mm-hmm. And we got in the line, and they were saying, it's a 75-minute wait. Beware, if you're in line right now, it's going to be a 75-minute wait. And so my sister and niece were like, no, we don't have 75 minutes in here. And I was like, it's been so long since I've been in this line. I don't know how long of a wait it's going to be. I just don't. I don't remember how much inside stuff there is. And it ended up being a 20-minute wait.
Oh my gosh.
So they got one and they missed it. And me and my youngest rode it together. And it was so much fun because I never got to do it at night.
Oh, that's the best time to ride it.
Yeah, it was so fun. I really enjoyed being able to ride at night. And we got near the back, and it's much more fun if you're in the back because they swing a lot more and you go a lot faster. So I enjoyed it. That's one of those that it's really short.
Really short. But waiting 20 minutes for it, that's not bad.
No, I would not wait in line for an hour for that ride. But that 20 minutes in the end of the night, again, just don't worry when they tell you it's going to be an hour wait. It's not.
I feel like that ride too is always inflated. They always inflate the wait times.
Absolutely. So the next day was Friday, and this was our last day all together as a big group. We were going to stay a couple extra days, just my family, my husband and my boys, and the rest of my family was going home. So this was our last day all together, and we wanted to make sure that my niece got to do everything that she wanted to do, because she doesn't go quite as often as we do. So we wanted to make sure that she got in all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So first we went to Hollywood Studios, and we got on Rock and Roller Coaster. And we did have Genie Plus for this day, but we didn't use it for Rock and Roller Coaster. But we did Rock and Roller Coaster, and then we did Star Tours, and I had gotten a fast pass for 10:30, because that morning I actually got up at 7 and did it right at 7 o'clock and got the fast pass for Slinky Dog for 10:30.
Nice.
So we got to ride Slinky Dog. And then we did Tower of Terror, and my oldest son wanted to make a plastic lightsaber. So he did that. And then we went back to the room to take a short break, and I got a lightning lane for Mount Everest at 4 o'clock at Animal Kingdom. So we hopped over to Animal Kingdom and we rode Everest, and I almost passed out because it was so hot. I'm serious. I sat down, and my son was like, "You need some water, don't you?" And she's like, "Dad, get my water right now." And he when I was like, "I'm fine, fine," and he was like, "You're not fine." And they went and got me water, and I was okay. But it just walking in to go to Everest and walking back out, it was bad.
Yeah.
So hydrate. Even when you don't realize that you're thirsty, just drink the water. And so we immediately went to Magic Kingdom, and we ate dinner at Pinocchio's. And my favorite place to eat there is if you go upstairs, you can eat outside, and it looks you can see looks out at the carousel and the castle, and it's just such a beautiful, special place to eat. Nobody's ever up there, but it was so hot we decided to eat inside, looking at the Small World ride, and that's fun too.
Yeah.
So we ate dinner, and we rode Pirates, and we did the Tiki Room and the Haunted Mansion. And again, when we were on the Haunted Mansion, when we got out, it was pouring rain, and they were like, "You gotta go right now, leave." And so we were pushed out in the rain, and it was just we were just soaking wet, and we all ran in different directions.
Yeah, just trying to find cover. Yeah.
And eventually we all met back up. Half of us went to the bathrooms, which was actually a good idea because we had paper towels and things to dry off with. And then half of us went to the Harbor House. And so we eventually, it slacked up enough that we all met up at the Harbor House and dried off, because we couldn't get our ponchos on or anything before they kicked us out. They're like, no, you have to leave right this minute. And
so
oh my gosh, really? I mean, it was not just like rain. It was just pouring. I mean, it was inches of water on the ground. Our feet were soaking. That was the worst part, that your feet are soaking wet.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, we're done. We just didn't be done. I'm like, no, do you see? There's nobody else in the park right now. We can get on any ride we want to. We have to do this. And so we went over to Thunder Mountain, and it was time for the fireworks. And that's what I always want to do, is get on Thunder Mountain with the fireworks. And it was so magical. It was we walked right on. There was nobody there. and the fireworks were going, and it was just, it was perfect. And we got off, and the Tangled song was playing, and I was crying, and I was like, "Oh, this is so magical! I love it." And so we got on it 2 more times and just rode it back.
Oh, that's so fun!
Yeah, it was just a great way to end the night. And then we went in front of the castle and took some pictures, and my parents went on back to the room so that they could get ready to go home the next day. And we went to we rode Jungle Cruise right at the end of the night, and there was no wait. I mean, it said like a 30-minute wait. There was no wait. No wait at all. So that night I went back to the hotel room, and I wasn't feeling very good. And I was really cold all night and achy. And I woke up the next morning and wasn't feeling good. And I was like, okay, boys, y'all can go to the parks and do whatever you guys want. I'm just going to take a rest day and enjoy being at the Polynesian. And so they went over and did they went and swam first and enjoyed swimming because they hadn't got to do that yet. And then I think they went to Magic Kingdom and Epcot and just kind of hit up a couple of their favorite rides. They didn't do a whole lot, but they just, were the people mover and did a few things that we didn't get to do. They went and saw the trains in Epcot over by Germany, and got me some of the caramel squares there. And when they got back, I wasn't feeling very well. I was like, it's fine. I'll be okay. Maybe tomorrow. I thought I was just really dehydrated. And then the next day, we got up and they went swimming again. And they went back over to Magic Kingdom just to buy a few things. And I took a COVID test that I brought with me just to make sure. And sure enough, I was COVID positive. I just couldn't believe it. I was so sad because I was hoping that I'd feel good enough to get back into the parks. And so I will say I called the front desk, and they were super nice, and they had a medical concierge, I think is what they call it. And they, within the hour, it was, I think, $250. And we've been to the doctor's office many times while we've been at Disney World. And it was probably $200 and a very long wait and a very busy waiting room. And it was worth the money to have them come to my hotel room. Like within an hour, the doctor was there. She had everything we needed, and she wrote me a prescription and checked me out and just made sure that my lungs were okay and I was okay. And I felt so much better after just making sure that everything was all right and there wasn't anything else going on. And so after that, they came on back to the hotel room, and then my youngest son wasn't feeling good. And we're like, okay, it's fine. It's the last day. We're okay. And we all got Dole Whips and just sat in the room and it took in. I was like, if I'm going to be sick, at least I'm sick at the Polynesian, and I can kick back and enjoy the view. And the boys didn't miss anything. It was just me that missed the last couple of days. And it was fine. And I called the hotel and let them know that I'd missed a couple of days, and they comped our whole party to Park Hopper Days.
Wow.
Yeah. I could not believe it. I was like, that was so nice. Because I was like, I didn't expect it. I was just like, is there anything I could do with my tickets since I had COVID and I couldn't go to the parks? And she was like, oh yeah, I'll just make sure that, you guys both, I think we have 2 years to use them.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool.
I was really impressed that they had done that for us. And, let's see. And then, it was time to go home the next day, and we were really sad, but we had really done almost everything there. There was just a handful of rides that we didn't get to do. So it worked out fine. I mean, I hated that I missed the last 2 days with the family, but really, I mean, we really did almost everything we wanted to do. The only thing I missed was riding the People Mover at night. That was my main thing that I wanted to do. But you can really do almost everything in 5 days if you really try to do it.
Oh, yeah. And y'all had such a long trip that even though you did miss 2 days, you still got 4 days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's like the upside. And they comped your tickets, and now you have a reason to go back.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, this is great.
Yeah, you're like, we got these tickets.
So,
well, that sounds like such a great, fun trip. I loved hearing about the multi-generational aspect of your trip. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah. And everybody enjoyed it in a different way. You know, a lot of times my parents would go off and they would, you know, while we were riding rides, they would go and get Dole Whips or hang out at a restaurant and just relax there on Main Street and take in the atmosphere together. And they went there on their honeymoon right
sweet.
After it first opened. So it was it's nice for them to go back. And
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I have 2 questions to ask that I ask all my guests. What was your least magical moment of the trip?
Least magical moment is being pushed out in the rain after the rides. Like, it was just so, and they were like really rude about it. I mean, I know that they have to, but they're just not super nice about it. They're just like, no, I don't care. You have to get out. And I just like, when you're not prepared for it to be raining, when you leave, you're going in the ride, it's sunny, and then you come out and it's pouring, and then children have wet shoes and wet clothes, like you can't put on a poncho. So that's really probably the least magical moment of the trip. So but you know, if you're prepared for that, then but we just didn't know. I'd never had that happen before.
I didn't even realize. I didn't really even realize that they just kind of push you out. I thought they would at least let you put a poncho on.
No, they're like, no, sorry, can't believe, get out. And it was worse at the Haunted Mansion because I'm sure they were trying to still be like in character.
Yeah.
And so they were just like, go. And it's hard to make yourself run out to like
I know.
Thunder.
You're like, you're gonna have to push me.
Right, please, just push me out there.
Oh my gosh. What was your most magical moment?
For me, my absolute most magical moment was riding the Thunder Mountain during the fireworks. That was it was perfect. It was just perfect. And maybe walking up to the Polynesian, knowing that we were actually going to get to stay there, because it was just, it was one of those lifelong dreams that I always want to stay, and I just never thought we'd ever get to do it. And all the stars aligned, and we did it. And so that was a special moment too.
I love that. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to say about your trip before we go?
I think maybe my biggest tip is that things are going to go wrong. Rides are going to be down. You're going to make all these plans and say, okay, I'm going to ride this ride, and then you get there and Peter Pan isn't working. And then you waste a lot of time riding Small World, and that happened continuously during the trip. I felt like, I had these great plans that we thought about and dreamed about for months and months and months and built up, and then they don't ever go the way you plan, or you get COVID, but you still make the most of it. You just have to just let it go and say, okay, these plans aren't going to work, and that's fine. And then find the beauty in the small moments of, drinking Beverly at Club Cool, or, watching the trains in Germany, or, the things that you can't plan for are the most magical moments, or just happening to get on Thunder Mountain during the fireworks. That's what you remember, not that you got on all the rides. There were several rides we didn't get to get on, but I don't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, when I think back, I think about those special little moments. One of my favorite memories is when my now 14-year-old was dancing to the music while we were waiting for the fireworks at Epcot. And we were just waiting for the fireworks. And that is one of my most favorite memories. So take the time don't rush from ride to ride. The rides aren't important. It's those little moments of spending time together and just soaking everything in that will be what you remember. So don't freak out when things don't work out.
That is the best advice. Fantastic. Well, Renae, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And whenever you travel again, I'd love to have you back on.
I would love to be back on. Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Thank you for listening today. I really appreciate you spending your time over here with us, and I hope this was just what you needed to hear today. I'm always looking for new guests for the podcast, so if you are traveling to any Disney park or cruise, see the show notes for more information about being on the show. Visit the show all around the web at DisneyTravelTales.com or find us on Instagram and Facebook at Disney Travel Tales. See pictures from the guests on their vacations. Plus, this is just a great way to stay up to date with all things related to the podcast and Disney travel in general. Join me next week with a brand new episode. So until then, this is Jenny, and may all your Disney travel dreams become a reality.